My name is Ashley. I've got a husband who's 2 years older than me and a daughter in elementary school. We're both working, and I'm a hotshot designer at a certain apparel company. Then, one day, I got a call at work. My parents were in an accident. I was completely stunned. Turns out, my parents passed away in an accident while on a trip. They were close and used to go on trips about once a month. That day, they were apparently driving to a tourist spot when they plummeted off a cliff. Found by a passerby, but by then, it was too late. My mind went blank, but I left work early and decided to call my husband first. Hey. I've got something important to tell you. What? I'm busy, you know? He sounded pretty irritated over the phone. Still, I took a deep breath and continued. The thing is, my dad and mom have passed away. Really? Is that true? Yeah. It seems like they had an accident on their trip. Both were gone by the time they were found. Talking about my parents made me cry uncontrollably. I ended up sobbing over the phone. What a pain. Stop crying. Can't you be a little more sympathetic? My parents are gone. I'm on a business trip right now. Don't call me with such nonsense. That's a horrible thing to say. You're talking about my parents. Sure, I owe them for some stuff, but to me, they're just strangers. And there's no point in fussing over the dead. There might be a wake and a funeral coming up, but I can't attend. Not even for family? Like I said, they're strangers to me. I'm not free enough to take off work for someone else's family. Don't call me anymore. And with that, he just hung up. I can't believe he turned into such a cruel person. Something inside me broke at that moment. At the start of our marriage, he always put me first and seemed to care a lot about me. He was overjoyed and cried when he found out I was pregnant, and he was very considerate during my pregnancy. We were happy even after our daughter was born, but about a year ago, he started acting distant. He began to stay away from home and grew colder towards me. It's not that he disliked me, he just seemed to lose interest. He used to notice even the slightest changes in me, but now, he doesn't care even if I drastically change my hair. No matter how hard I try to dress up and catch his attention, he just mocks me. Come on, what's with that outfit at your age? You're not young anymore, stop wearing floral skirts. It's just shabby. That's harsh. You used to compliment me. Haven't you gained weight since we got married? Guess having a kid really strips away a woman's femininity. This is like fraud. He kept mocking my appearance like this. His words hurt me deeply. Our daughter seemed to notice that we weren't doing well. She always looked worried whenever he said mean things to me. As I was lost in thought in the living room, my mother-in-law, who we live with, came over. Actually, we built our own house and started living with my in-laws when our daughter started elementary school. Seeing me cry, my mother-in-law looked annoyed. Hey, what's a grown woman like you crying for? Well, my dad and mom just passed away. What? How? They had an accident during their trip. I see. Both of them are gone at once, quite the loving couple. But hey, you're lucky to get double the insurance money, right? Let's celebrate by dining out at a fancy restaurant. What did you say? My parents just passed away. How can you be so cruel? People die eventually, right? They just went a bit sooner. Stop crying and get ready to make dinner, I'm hungry. My mother-in-law is the stereotypical mean mother-in-law. I thought she'd at least say something kind when she heard about my parents. But she didn't have a shred of compassion. After that, I started preparing for the funeral with the help of my relatives. My husband said he had work and didn't even attend. I couldn't bear being with such a heartless man any longer. After my parents' funeral, I decided to start preparing for a divorce. Once everything was ready, I left a voicemail for my husband, who was on a business trip. I'm going on a long business trip. Please, keep an eye on your parents. That's all I left in the message. There was nothing else I wanted to say. I took my things and left the house we had lived in for so many years. A few hours later, while at work, I was called by Human Resources. My husband had showed up, drenched in sweat. I had been ignoring his calls. He probably thought I'd be at work and decided to confront me there. Honestly, I didn't even want to see his face anymore, but I couldn't let him cause a scene at work, so I reluctantly went to deal with it. When I showed up at the entrance, there he was, visibly shaken. You! What's the meaning of this? My parents are in a mess. Give me a break. Look, I really can't deal with you showing up out of the blue. I'm working, you know? Besides, weren't you supposed to be on a business trip? I came back as soon as Dad called me. After you left, they've been struggling to even eat. Dad said to come back. And what happened to Mom and Dad anyway? Mom's hospitalized, Dad's bedridden. All your stuff is gone. Completely confused, my husband needed an explanation. Your mom's diabetes got worse and she had to be hospitalized urgently. You knew she had diabetes, right? I knew, but it wasn't anything serious, right? She always seemed fine at home. She may have looked fine, but her condition was serious. She collapsed with a severe headache. After some tests, they decided she needed to be hospitalized. She wasn't taking her medication and was skipping doctor's appointments. Her condition must have worsened. And why is Dad bedridden? He wasn't sick or anything, and he seemed fine. He threw out his back while trying to get Mom to the hospital. He's always had a weak back. And lifting Mom, who's nearly 220 pounds, didn't help. What? My husband was pale and speechless. Mom-in-law had been diabetic for about 2 years. She always loved greasy food and high-calorie snacks, snacking whenever she had time. I tried to make low-calorie meals for her, but she found them annoying. What's this? This meatball hardly tastes like meat. I thought of adding soy pulp to the meatballs, considering your health. Soy pulp can make you feel full too. I can't eat this. I don't want such poor meals. I won't eat this. She threw the meatballs I made into the sink. It wasn't the first time she discarded my cooking. And my husband? He just turned a blind eye. Sometimes he even scolds me. Can't you stop doing things that upset Mom? That meatball was like picking a fight. I was just thinking about her health. Continuing to eat high-calorie meals could be life-threatening. I was trying to make meals that would reduce the strain on her body. That's none of your business. Mom's fine, let her eat what she wants. Don't do something like this again. I'm the one who ends up in trouble. By the way, my father-in-law never intervened in our fights. It was more about not wanting to get involved than being indifferent. I had been tossed around by my mother-in-law and husband, but I endured it. Of course, I thought about divorce several times. The only reason I hesitated was that I didn't want to take away my daughter's father. Not having a father could be frowned upon. But I no longer wanted to live with this man. I was resolute in my decision. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Can you leave so you don't cause a scene at work? No way! I'm not satisfied with this. We need to talk properly. Fine. Let's go somewhere else then. It was lunchtime. So we decided to go to a nearby cafe. As soon as we entered, my husband asked me seriously. So, what are you planning to do about my parents? Obviously, you're quitting your job to take care of them, right? What? Why should I, practically a stranger, take care of them? They're your parents, you should handle it. Stranger? They're my parents. Sure, we're not blood related, but we're still family. No, we're going to be strangers soon, so it's none of my business. Why should I take care of your parents after we're divorced? Strangers? What are you talking about? He seemed oblivious to an important detail. Huh? Didn't you see the lawyer's business card for divorce I left in the living room? Divorce? He had been so preoccupied with his parents' situation that he hadn't paid much attention to the house. He was so shocked that he stood up. Please sit down. You're drawing attention. Are you serious about this divorce? Dead serious. Do I look like someone who jokes about these things? I thought you were just going on a long business trip. The long business trip was a lie. I'm actually transferring to another branch in a different state. Though, the move is a bit later. What? I didn't know about this. When I mentioned the possible divorce to my company, they offered me a transfer. Of course, I won't tell you which state it is. What? Are you really serious about this divorce? He looked at me incredulously. He probably never expected things to have progressed this far without his knowledge. Divorce is going to be hard on our daughter. Have you ever considered her? Are you in any position to say that? After all the times you betrayed us? What do you mean? I haven't betrayed you. I've been working hard for you guys. Don't you even appreciate that? Appreciate? When you hardly contributed to the household expenses? He was at a loss for words. He had started contributing less to the household expenses about 2 years ago, citing a decrease in salary. What used to be a shared responsibility increasingly became mine alone. There were times when he didn't contribute a single cent. Luckily, I have a decent job and earn a good salary. It is even more than him. You don't contribute to the living expenses, leave all the child rearing to me, and bring a mean mother-in-law into our house. What benefit do I get from living with you? There's no such thing as benefits or drawbacks in a marriage. We married because we loved each other. I might have felt that way back then, but now I have no feelings for you. You love someone else, don't you? What are you talking about? He said this, but his eyes were darting around. I could see he was clearly unsettled. I know you've been cheating on me with a young woman from your office. It's been going on for about a year. Her name is Emily, right? The petite woman with long black hair. She's exactly your type. Hey! What are you talking about? Are you mistaken? Did someone feed you some nonsense? No. I hired a detective. I suspected you might be cheating, but I never imagined it was with a woman 10 years younger, and married, too. She's just gotten married, is that okay with you? Hey! Did you investigate me? Of course. If we're getting divorced, I need to make sure it benefits me. He was clearly shocked. He must have thought his affair had been a secret. When I started thinking to divorce my husband, I hired a private investigator to look into his actions. Ever since he started staying away from home, he had been acting suspiciously. He suddenly started locking his phone, making secretive calls in different places, and leaving the house with unusually large bags. I tried to ignore it, but it turns out he was having an affair. The other woman was a coworker at his office. Apparently, she made the first move. She's always been the type who can't be satisfied with just one guy. She approached me at a party. I tried to refuse, but she was so persistent, I couldn't get out of it. So you're saying it's not your fault? Sure, she might have been cheating with other men too, but you're responsible for getting involved with her, right? What? Is she seeing other guys too? The investigator found out she's been involved with at least 3 other men besides you. What? She said I was the only one. My husband slammed his fist on the table, showing his frustration. The investigation also revealed that the woman's husband is an executive at a major company. He's almost 2 decades older than her, and it seemed like she married him for his money. My husband was at fault for cheating, but so was she. In a way, they were both similar. But it was just a casual thing between us. Neither of us wanted to break up our families. So, casual affairs are okay? What about our daughter? What if she gets harassed at school because of your affair? That would be the fault of the kids who spread rumors. It's wrong to meddle in someone else's family. You always blame others. You cheated, and you haven't even said sorry. You show no remorse. Okay, I get it. I'll break up with her. Happy now? It's not about being happy. I'm divorcing you. And I'm going to make both of you pay for your sins in some way. My husband's face turned pale at my words. Then her husband may find out about us, right? It's unfair to Emily, she just got married. Unfair? It's her husband who was betrayed right after getting married. By the way, I've already informed Emily's husband about the affair. What? She didn't tell you anything? No, she's been on sick leave and not answering my calls. Must be a shock for her too. Damn it! What if this gets out at work? You brought this on yourself. And I know you both were using your vacation days to meet. How do you know that? I asked your company because you've been on so many business trips lately. They said you weren't on any trips, just using your vacation days. I checked Emily's leave records too, and she was off on the same days. You were meeting her, weren't you? What? My husband fell silent, looking down. I knew I had hit the mark. Then, someone we didn't expect approached us. What are you doing here? Weren't you on leave today? Boss. It was my husband's boss from his department. His boss often came to this cafe during lunch. My husband looked embarrassed. You said you needed the day off for a family matter, right? Well, yes, but... His boss sensed something was up. I thought it was good timing, so I decided to tell his boss everything. His boss knew I was my husband's wife. We had met a couple of times. Actually, this guy has been having an affair with a young woman at work. Her name is Emily. What? Is that true? His boss shouted loudly enough for others to hear. Please lower your voice. Everyone's looking. Well, I'm shocked to hear one of my employees is having an affair. And he's been using his vacation days to meet her. What the heck are you doing at a time when we're so busy? Look. I was planning to break it off with her. Could you keep this quiet from the others? What are you saying? Of course, I'll report this. You're in sales, right? Sales is all about trust. Who wants to buy from someone who betrays his own family? Don't think you'll stay in your current department. Wait. I don't know anything but sales, and if I get transferred, my salary will. Your problems aren't my concern. Apologize to your wife first. You've hurt her because of your actions. Of course, I understand I did something wrong, but that's got nothing to do with my job. It does matter. I no longer want anything to do with someone who can betray their family so easily. I'm removing you from the upcoming project team. It seemed my husband had been appointed the leader of an important project. Success in this project would have almost certainly guaranteed a promotion. He had been putting a lot of effort into preparing for it for a long time. That's unfair. You said I was the right person for the project. Now that I know your true character, I've lost the desire to entrust it to you. Luckily, we have plenty of capable employees. I'll assign someone else as the leader. I'll report this to the higher-ups now. With that, his boss left the cafe. His boss was supposed to take his lunch break, but he went back to the office to report about my husband. After watching his boss leave, my husband slumped in defeat. It's over. Everything was going so well. How did it come to this? His voice trembled, on the verge of tears. Well, I'll leave the rest to my lawyer. From now on, let's communicate through our attorneys. I left the lawyer's business card on the living room table, so call them if you need anything. You're really serious about the divorce? My husband asked with tears in his eyes. I wondered what he was talking about. I nodded firmly. Isn't that what I'm saying? I can't bear to live with a betrayer any longer. Not to mention, I can't stand living with your mother anymore. You always turned a blind eye when she mistreated me. I told you countless times I wanted to stop living together, but you never listened. You always said it was all in my head, even though you saw it happening. I never realized you were that troubled by my mom. I'll pay more attention from now on. It's too late for that. You're going to have a hard time taking care of them now, with the hospital bills and caregiving. How are you going to manage? Caregiving is impossible. I'm working. How am I supposed to take care of Dad? Maybe it's time to change your job. You're going to have a hard time at your current company anyway. Don't say it's that easy. Please, I'm sorry about the affair. Come back to me. It's impossible. I've already arranged my transfer at work, and I'm preparing to move my daughter to another school. No. I don't want a divorce. Then, he started crying loudly in the cafe. It was like a child denied a toy. Embarrassed, I left him there and walked out. He continued to sob even after I left. Apparently, some young people in the cafe found it amusing and recorded him, uploading the video to social media with a mosaic filter. The video was quickly removed, but it had already spread among his colleagues. We eventually divorced through lawyers. I ensured he paid child support for our daughter. I decided to have my lawyer monitor his payments to make sure he doesn't fall behind on payments. His mistress divorced her husband too. Both he and his mistress quit their jobs, unable to face their colleagues, and briefly dated. Apparently, my ex-husband and Emily dated for a while, but she refused to care for his parents and left him. Being young, she probably moved on to another man. My ex-husband now cares for his father at home, struggling to make ends meet with part-time jobs. As for me, I've thrown myself into my new role at work. There, I've been managing important projects and even received a modest raise. My daughter adjusted well to her new school, quickly making friends. I became a single but have no regrets. I believe my parents are watching over me. Now, I want to live strong, watching my beloved daughter grow.